Then I'm going to get in here with some acrylic paint. I'm not really sure if I'm going to get in here with anything other than acrylic to start out. I may try maybe some water soluble neocolor if I did any neocolor to start out with. We'll see. Or maybe color pencil. I don't know. Sometimes I like to put a little color in before I start painting. We'll see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna do I just want to get my cat kind of in here. So I'm gonna just get started drawing and see what happens, what develops. You just don't know. Things can always change, I think, when I'm this early on. But there are some things I really liked about this little study that I want to hopefully. I liked how spontaneous it was. It's not like it's not super tight. I love the looseness of it. Those are things I kind of wanted to keep about it. I don't need it to be an accurate representation of my own cat. It doesn't have to be a portrait of my cat, because it's not really an accurate portrait of her. It's just more, she was definitely an inspiration for this piece, but definitely doesn't have to be an exact representation of her. Okay. I love to include animals because they're so special to me in my work, because I just really adore them. And I've had all kinds of animals over the years. I really just love them. I just love animals in general. All right, we gotta get this kitty in because the kitty's the focal part of this. So now this kitty. Now, I'm sure that there was a picture I worked from, like a photograph, but now, and this is something that I talk about a lot, it's like once I have a study like this, I no longer look at the picture, right? I'm gonna only look at my painting because I only want that as a reference once I start my work, because then I'm influenced only by what I've put down, and I'm no longer influenced by any kind of a reference that I might have had, and it becomes more my own that way, rather than looking at a reference I may have had or found or something. So I don't want any sort of an earlier reference that might have been a photograph or something I might have found someplace or taken a picture or any of that kind of thing. Okay, so now I'm just working from my own painting that I have here. This is a little watercolor that I did, and it's a very loose watercolor. And so I had a friend that she used to call all these tabby cats M cats, because they kind of have, if you've ever had a tabby cat, they have kind of an M on their forehead. So they all had names like, she used to feed all the stray cats in her neighborhood, but then she would name them things like Emily and Emmett and things like Emerald, and anything that had an M for the first two letters would be the names of the cats that she was, if they were tabbies, that's what they would have. The first two letters would be M whatever, because they had the M on their forehead because of the stripes, you know, those little stripes that they always have on their head. Okay, I really liked how this kind of broke up the space. That was really cool and important. And I also like how the kitty cat had white paws, even though my kitty cat does not have white paws. So I'm gonna put the white paws in again, which I really liked. Okay, now this cat is very cute. And I like the expression on this cat, I think, a lot. And somehow I was able to get these white whiskers in a watercolor, which I don't even know how I did that, but I'm somehow managed to do that. Very cute. Okay, so we gotta remember to put those in. So I'm just gonna, you know, I could always, I mean, it's gonna be so much easier with acrylic to remember to do that, but the whiskers are so important on a cat, I think. A lot of times they just give so much character to your kitty picture. Okay, now this kitty, we definitely gave her a little bit of white right there and white around her eyes. So I'm just indicating some stuff, and I am gonna go straight across with this line. Okay, so now what I like to do is I add things that are kind of my symbols into my own paintings, and I like to add in things like, well, I'm gonna keep the pattern that I had in my painting, which is, it's kind of, but I'm gonna not that I want to make it tighter, but I'm gonna make it I don't know how to say it. I guess I want it to be more, I guess when I'm working on a small study, things aren't as well planned because I'm just working really spontaneously. So when I'm doing a finished painting, I try to make things just a little bit more I just try to plan it out a little more carefully, is what I want to say. Is that I'm trying to, you know, maybe create it with more care and make it just look a little bit more finished, but I don't want things to be too, I don't want it to look too tight. I still want that spontaneous feeling. I want it to feel alive. So I'm not going to try for perfection in every move I make, but I do try to make things slightly more symmetrical, like in the wallpaper. I don't want the wallpaper to be wonky. Like in this one, the wallpaper's a little wonky, but it doesn't really matter. But here, I'm trying to make my line work a little bit more symmetrical, and for it to read a little bit more like it's, you know, real wallpaper. So it's a little bit more thought out, rather than I just scribbled it down and painted, you know. So has to be a combination of the two. And there is a lot of places here that I feel like I can add a little bit of mixed media in and really have fun with this piece. Some of the things I want to change. Now, I knew when I was painting the study that I wanted there to be pattern here, which I still, you know, that's going to be a really important element here. But I also, now this isn't actually a ruler, but I want to be a little bit more precise about the line for the wall so that it's more straight than it was in the study. Well, it didn't go beyond the cat's back in the original, so I want to make sure that it's not wonky, because it's, you know, there are a lot of people that would really be disturbing to look at. So I gotta look a little bit, make sure that's straight. And then the other thing that I did kind of forget that I need to do is I like to put this up on an angle a little bit. It's just a little bit easier for me to read the picture, and it's not completely flat. I sometimes work on a table easel, but for the live stream, I'm just gonna have it like this. And then I'm going to, you know, I can kind of see everything better this way. Now, I thought that I definitely want to add a pattern, and I really do like to add some kind of foliage or some other sort of thing down here. So I'm thinking about that, and I have some references and things that I want to refer to. And I sometimes just look around my studio because I have a lot of I do have quite a few collectibles out here, but I'm thinking more along the lines of some sort of a carpet here. And instead of it covering the entire piece, I might have like a carpet. So I'm gonna just grab a reference that I have right here and put it out for myself from another painting. And so, yeah. Okay. Okay, so now I think I may do is add a reference for, I'm just trying to think about the shape, but I want to put a pot here and then have some foliage. And then I'm going to put in a rug of some sort, but I'm going to put the foliage in first. So I'm going to make, let's see if I have anything I can use here. I'm gonna make a little pot. I'm really obsessed with vessels sometimes, and that's mostly because I've done pottery for so long. So like, I especially love vintage pottery, and so I sometimes will throw pottery with interesting shapes into my work. Mostly because I just really want to find a way to add interesting foliage into my paintings. So here I'm gonna just get a shape in here. There we are. Okay, so I'm gonna have that sitting there. I'm just gonna start a carpet. I'm just gonna have that in the background, and then I'm going to start my foliage, I think, because I just want it to be really organic. I want it to be flowing and just I feel like it really adds, and I really love adding I really love adding the foliage to my paintings. I don't know what it is about it. I just I have so much fun doing it, I think, and that's why I love it so much. So I'm going to add quite a bit of foliage here. I'm going to add some beautiful flowers. Now this, I know this is a very small painting, so I'm going to probably, if I like how this comes out, I'm probably going to want to do a big one, which I know sounds insane because I haven't even done the small one yet, but you know, I'll probably want to do a even bigger one when I'm done with this one. Okay. So right now I'm just making room for the small one. trying not to overwhelm it with foliage, but I need a balance here, so I'm just adding the pieces. And then I'm going to just add, I think I'll think about the carpet after I get some of the color put down. So I'm just gonna go ahead and move my water, and then I'm gonna get started on blocking in some of the color here. So I need to, without getting overwhelmed with color, start picking out my colors for this composition. And so, let's see. I'm gonna grab my matte medium because that's very important. I always start with that. Matte medium is what I use for my painting medium. I feel like painting medium is super important because it adds flow to the painting. It loosens everything up and allows the paint to flow properly. And so I always have it on my palette. I'm gonna start with some darker browns on my, I need my earth tones. So here we go. This is a little bit of raw umber. That's gonna be my darkest dark in this painting. This is cadmium orange. Let's see, cadmium orange. I'm not sure. I may use, let's see what I have here. Naples yellow. I'm gonna use vivid orange. Cadmium yellow. Because this is a calico cat, so I'm going in with some of these brighter yellows, but then I'm also going to go in and add some of my earth tones. I'm going to want a little bit of the yellow ochre to start out with, and then I'm going to want cadmium red light, which is a beautiful color. And then for my other red that I'm going to use, I think I want a cooler red. So this is going to be my perylene red, which I love. Perylene red is a very cool red, which I love. It's like more of a scarlet red. And then, of course, I'm going to always need lots of white because I like to make tints and tints and tints. So here's my titanium white, everyone. This is the one I buy in the giant jar. I'm not putting any cool colors out yet, but I will need them in a little while. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to put that away. Okay, my white. White is always so important. Okay. And now I'm going to grab some brushes. So my favorite brushes are these Princeton, and I just really love these Princeton Aspens. And they're not super expensive, and I use them all the time. I use them for oils and acrylics, and they're so great. They're just like one of my favorite go-to brushes. So I have them all the time for all my painting. This is what I use. And I even use Princeton brushes for my watercolors. I like the Aquash brushes, and they have so many really great brushes for a good price. Okay, so now I'm going to get started. I'm going to block out my kitty, I think. And grab some, let's see. I have some, I always need to have paper right next to me when I'm painting, otherwise I'm going to be in trouble, because I need to do a lot of blotting, and I don't like when my paintbrush is drippy. I get all discombobulated. Okay, so now I'm going to start. I mix my colors. I never take anything straight out of the tube. I'm always mixing and fussing with my colors, okay? So okay. Things don't really look natural the way they are when they're coming out of the tube, so I just have to play with them a little bit. All right, so my kitty has lots of different colors because she's a calico. All right, so this kitty's gonna have a lot of different colors. Now now there's something they call a tabico, which is really weird. It's like a tabby calico. There's, you know, I never remember seeing cats that look like this when I was a kid, but this is a thing apparently. I never knew till I had one, but they're very cute. I love my kitty. I really like all kitties, but so I'm gonna exploit the fact that I have all these colors to work with to separate some of these areas on my kitty. All right, now this is my dark, but I'm gonna mix it with some of these other colors. So there we go. Okay. So I'm just really just at this point, I'm just gonna get some of my colors blocked in and get my basic shapes down. These are very, very thin layers. When I go in the beginning, all I'm doing is I'm putting in very thin layers of color. I'm not doing a ton here, and I'm trying to not get overwhelmed as far as the colors, you know. I'm just putting down light, thin colors. Okay, I'm just trying to get everything blocked in. And a lot of times when in these early layers, when I'm just setting things down, because there's a pencil drawing, you know, the pencil might move a little bit, it'll look a little smudgy. I don't ever worry about any of that stuff because the first layer of acrylic might move it, but then once that acrylic dries, nothing's going to move again. Okay, so this kind of just sets everything in place. It gets that first layer set down, so you don't have to really worry after that. Okay, once you get, like, some of these initial layers, you know, these initial colors went down a little darker. I might add a little bit of white to that. That's okay, that's fine. I don't worry about it, really. I generally, you know, I have more medium here, so things are going down really thin in these first layers, okay? I have the colors mixed in, but it's, you know, these are thin layers. I just want to get, I want to get Kitty down and in here. And I'm mixing in a lot of white. I'm making some tints, you know, tints of these colors, but I'm kind of blocking in the different colors of this kitty. Okay. And that's okay. You can see how the pencil smudges up a little bit, but that's never going to move again once that first layer of acrylic goes down. We don't have to worry about that moving ever again because it's just going to. Okay. If I feel like some places are dark, too dark, I'm going back in with my tints, you know. Yeah, I felt like that was a little darker than I wanted it to be under there. I seem to be craving a little bit of more of a burnt sienna color. That isn't my burnt sienna, but let's see. Transparent brown oxide, which is very similar. So I want to mix some of that up. It's a very, very close. It's more transparent. That's okay. That's kind of what I was looking for. Something not overpowering, but more of that kind of a little bit of a brown, reddish brown color that I was looking for. Okay, that's what I was going for here. All right, now we're getting there. Okay, now this carnelian color can get in there. Okay, now Now, if I see foliage or something underneath here that I'm trying to, that's going to be there, that's growing over my kitty, I'm going to avoid it. Okay, so I see a big flower here. I don't have to paint over that, so I'm just going to avoid it right now. And just leave that, because that's going to be going over my cat, and I don't want that to be a problem later. I don't want to have to cover it later, in other words, so I'm just going to leave that there. Okay. So now I want to start getting in some of my details. Let me see if I can mix the pink I need from these colors. Oh, you know what I'm going to do is not use that red. I'm going to use my really scarlety red to mix my pink, because that'll be a better pink. Okay, that's what I'm doing. All right, so my scarlet red is going to give me the pink I need for my nose and my ears and all that stuff. So that's what I'm doing here. It really needs to be a pretty light tint. So way more white than it is red. And that's what I'm doing. Okay, there it is. All right, now I'm going to grab a tiny brush, and I'm going to start popping that stuff in. Okay, so kitty ears are almost, it depends on the color your kitty is, but the inside of a light colored kitty's ears are almost always pink. And then this kitty has a pink nose. It's going to have a pink nose. Because depends on the color of their face, but sometimes they have a pink nose. This is my kitty nose, and kitty lips, depending on the color of the cat, are sometimes pink. This kitty's gonna have some darker spots on their lip. They could also have the kitty nostrils. Okay, now I'm gonna get in here with some darker darks on, here we're gonna add a little bit of the matte medium to loosen up some of this very dark brown where the eyes are. Now, I like the matte medium for flow when I'm painting, because it really does increase the flow of the paint. So I'm adding in the kitty cats. Some details on the cat here, okay. Kitty. Okay. We'll see where that goes, but I'm blocking in right now, so this is not anywhere near gonna be finished at this point. I'm just gonna get in some of the details. So I'm putting in the feet and stuff like that. Right now they're just gonna be white, okay? Now, I wanna go back and, because this kitty is gonna have some white, a white chin, some white on the chin is important. This also is going to help distinguish some of the features on the kitty. So that's important. And then down the road, I'll get in with some color in there. But right now, I think we're just going to allow some of this to go. I think that was too harsh. This is a little too harsh. And I'm just touching up a little bit here and there that I think I need to soften some areas. I'm gonna come in with some accents here and there. I want this a little bit. Just kind of popping these colors in until it looks like a cat. I know that kind of sounds weird, but that's what I kind of do here. And now I'm gonna do like the forehead where there's generally an M for the M cap. If you've ever had a tabby, you know what I'm talking about when I say they're M cats, because they have this little M on their forehead. Okay. That's starting to look like a kitty. Okay. Let's see. So because it's a canvas and not a watercolor, we don't ever want to really leave any white spaces here. All right, so I'm going to leave that kitty where it is right now, and I think I can get into other places. These are still very thin layers, and I can still see canvas in a lot of places. So I'm just going to leave that like that for now. And then I'm going to start thinking about some of these other places. Now, I'm going to try not to introduce more colors right now because I don't like to overpower my paintings with too many colors, because then my composition or my whole painting won't stay cohesive. So I have a variety of earth tones and warm colors, so I will be very limited in what I add at this point. I will add some cool colors and possibly some neutral tones as I go forward, but I'm not going to add a whole bunch more colors, because the more you add at this point, the more potential you have to throw the entire composition off. So I'm going to have to create greens. So I would probably just add one blue, and then I will create my greens from there. So I have to be careful about which blue, but I have an idea that I'm going to add a warm blue. And it will probably be either cobalt or ultramarine blue. And then I'm going to add, create my green that I'm going to need for my foliage, my greens, from these yellows, because I have 3 yellows here. I've got yellow ochre, I've got Naples, and I have cadmium. So I can take the one blue and make 3 potential greens from those, and then everything will be related and cohesive. And that's how I'm able to keep my color palette related, rather than grabbing a blue or 2 blues and 3 more greens. And you know, to keep the color palette all related and have everything look really cohesive in my painting, just grabbing the one blue and creating the greens from these yellows makes everything tie in and look related. Okay, and I'm going to use let's see, because I have a warm red and a cool red, I'll be able to use my warm red and my cool red in my wallpaper background. So let's see, I think I may want to do my foliage next and then do the background on the wall, because I want to be able to get those plants in place before I do anything else. So let's grab a blue, and I gotta look to see. I'm gonna try, I could actually add a primary blue too if I wanted to. Primary cyan, I'm not sure. Let's see, that would work. And then I'm just trying to think, maybe ultramarine. I gotta look at the two things. I'm gonna look to see if I want ultramarine blue, possibly. Or, well, I think that could work. Let's see. I want to see what those look like as a green with, let's see it with the cadmium. Yeah. Those could be good greens. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna do some test greens with the ultramarine, and then I'm gonna look at some of the other ones. Let's see. I'm not thrilled with these greens. So I'm gonna try a cool blue and see what those look like. So I'm gonna use manganese, and then I'm gonna try those again and try them with the manganese and see if I like those. I think I like those better. So I'm gonna do manganese, which is a cool blue instead. I've changed my mind, and that's okay. It's because I like these greens way better. Let's see it with the yellow ochre for a dark one. Or let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Because I like, oh yeah, this is way better. Okay, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use the manganese blue. And this is what I do. I just kind of test them and, you know, kind of see. So, you know, you can always change your plan. I'm going to add a lot of matte medium to these because I really want the flow when I'm painting my foliage. Okay. So I mixed up two, one with cadmium and one with yellow ochre. And now I'm going to go in and paint my leaves. Please don't think I'm neglecting the feed. I can't see it because I'm painting, and I only have this one camera and I can't really look. But I can in a minute take a little break and I will look to see who's here and address the chat, which I'd, you know, love to do. And if there's questions, I'd love to answer them. All right, let's see. So you may not. So the cadmium yellow really made a brighter, much brighter spring kind of green, and the yellow ochre made more of an emerald kind of green, which they both came out really pretty. Love both the colors. And sometimes I prefer to mix my own like this, in this kind of case, just because I do prefer to mix my own colors a lot of the times, because then people don't really, I don't know, I just prefer a mixed color to a tube color a lot of the time, because you can't always get exactly what you're looking for from the tube, you know. And even if I'm using a tube color, I add a little something to it, or it's never exactly the way you want it to be. So you may want to play with those colors a little bit when you're pulling them out of the tube. You don't have to settle for how it comes out, how it's coming out of the tube. You want to, do a little investigation and see if it's not exactly what you're looking for, see if you can alter it a little bit and make it more the way you want it to be. Playing with color is just really fun, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy mixing colors and learning about colors, so I love mixing colors for my paintings. So this is the cadmium yellow with manganese blue, which came out really pretty. I like that. I'm going to add a little bit of accent to my darker leaves, I think, with this lighter color. Give it a little variation. And then what I'm going to do here is on some of these leaves with the yellow ochre, which came out more that emerald green color, I'm going to go back in and add a little bit of that color to it just on the leaves, because it really made them richer and added some depth. Now, I'm getting a lot of the first layers of acrylic are very thin, sometimes even with quality paint. So, and this is really good. I mean, I'm using golden and what else am I using today? Liquitex. So I have a really good paint that I'm using, but those initial layers sometimes are just really thin. So you want to remember that one layer of paint very often is not enough, and you should think in layers when you're painting with acrylic. And I always tell people, like, don't feel like you have to go out and buy the most expensive kind of paint when you first start any kind of art medium. But when you first buy your supplies, if you're starting out with a student grade paint, use it all up and then go out and try to buy the best you can afford, because it's actually less expensive if you're going to do a lot of painting to buy expensive paint, because it goes farther, it lasts longer, you don't need as much, it covers better. It's so much better that you actually save money. But you won't save money if you start painting and give it up in a month. you know, you'll have spent a lot of money on supplies you're not going to use. But if you find yourself really loving painting, then you'll actually save money in the long run if you're going to be committed to painting. Okay, so now I really love these leaves. So I'm going to go back in with that lighter color and add a little bit more depth to them, like I did on some of them, by adding that other warmer yellow on top of just the leaves, which I thought looked nice. And it's so subtle, but it really does. You probably can't see it on the camera, but it added a huge amount of depth. So then I'm going to do kind of the reverse thing and go into some of these leaves and just add a little bit of a touch of this darker color. But I'm not going to go over the whole thing, so they almost look like they're variegated. And that's with the darker version that I mixed up. And I kind of like how that looks. Okay. All right. All right, so now I think I'm such a goofball because I totally left off. Here, I'm gonna paint out some of these flowers, but I totally left that flower on the cat and then painted over it. And so now I'm gonna have to, well, it looks like it's dry, so I can go back over it. So I'm gonna make a flower here on this cat, and that's okay. It's fine. Titanium white to the rescue, my favorite. Titanium white is the white that I use most often because it covers like nothing else covers. Like if I was doing this with Chinese white, I'd need 52 layers of Chinese white, or one of the other whites, soft mixing white, or you know, one of the other whites. I'd be here all day doing this, and instead I do 2 lines of it and boom, done. Okay, so now I'm going to put in my other flowers, which are white flowers. They're going to be beautiful. And this is the first layer on my flowers, so I'm just going to put in, I'm going to put the flowers where they're going to go. I'm going to do a thin layer, but I'm also doing a, I'm kind of just, I want my flowers to have a little texture, so I'm actually putting them in a kind of a textural, chunky kind of way, I want to say. Even though it's a thin layer, I'm not brushing them out. I don't care if there's a little texture left behind. I want the flowers to have like a little bit of a texture to them. Okay, so now I've got my foliage in, and I'm going to mix up a little bit. Let's see. I think I'm going to take a little of my manganese blue, if I can grab some of it that doesn't have any manganese blue is this gorgeous color. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna mix the smallest amount of it with some white. I'm gonna make a very light color. Add some matte medium into it. Oof. Yep. And then I'm gonna go into the background of this pot. I want more white. More white. Much more. All right, now I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna do my pot. And this pot's gonna change because I may want, okay. I need a different brush. I don't want to say a better brush. I just need a different brush. This is a little bit of an angle brush that I'm going to use now, just to get in here and spread this around. Okay. All right, so I'm still on the first layer, so it's going to be moving around some of this pencil. I'm going to do a very thin layer of this color in the background here. But I just want to get this color down so I know where my pot is. And I want to set this pencil so it's not moving around, like I said earlier. This is just my pencil lines and stuff. I want to get this all set in place. Let's see how I get this moved all around here. Get around my plants and all that stuff. All of this can be touched up and changed, but I don't want to be too tight either. You know, I try to just get everything in and set here. Let me just get this pot done. So the matte medium that I'm using also kind of extends the open time, or the amount of time it takes this stuff to dry. With, you know, with acrylic paint dries really fast. So a lot of times you got to push yourself a little bit to work with it, because you can't take too long, otherwise it's going to all dry. So, and there are things you can add. There's open medium, which is going to, you know, extend the working time even more. There's all kinds of things that add time to your working time as far as mediums. But the other thing about working with mediums is that I think there's a lot of people that think that you just use water with acrylic paint, and it's designed to be used with a medium. So if you're having trouble with flow, or your open time, or your ability to mix, you're probably not using medium. And medium is really important when you're painting with acrylics. So you really should be using it, because it really isn't designed to just be used with water. It's designed to be used with mediums. And that's all paints. I mean, we're used to knowing that oil is created to be used with mediums, but not a lot of people realize that acrylic is also designed to be used with mediums. Even the water-based oils have their own set of mediums that you're supposed to use them with. They're not supposed to just be used with water. They have their own mediums that you're supposed to use them with. And they work better when you're using them with the mediums. Yes, you can use them with just water, just like acrylic paint, but water actually degrades the paint and it won't work the way it's really supposed to if you're using it with water. If you use too much water, it will actually break down the paint, and the paint won't act right, it won't cure right. It's really designed to be used with the mediums. Now you could use gloss medium if you like. Gloss medium is great. I tend to like a matte surface. It's probably because I'm so used to watercolor and gouache. Although I do like the shiny oil surface when I paint in oil, so I guess I'm... Okay, so now I had a background, I had like a pattern plan for this pot, and now I really like the pale blue. I'll have to think about that, because sometimes I do things as a base coat and it makes me rethink the whole thing. Okay, so now I want to think about my beautiful wallpaper, and I know what color I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in Scarlet. I'm going to take my tiny brush. Let's see. I think I'm going to add this beautiful Perylene Red into my mixture I already have going here. I'm going to add more of my matte medium to that, and probably make it a little darker. I don't want it too dark, but I do. Okay. All right, so now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over these flowers, and those are like part of the design on the wallpaper. Yep. These are really pretty. Okay. All right. I would not be able to keep this fine line and gentle flow going with this stuff if I didn't have the matte medium. Okay. Hi, Mara. I see you on the chat. I'm just logged in. Hi. I'm just looking at the chat to see if anybody has questions. If anybody has any questions about what I'm doing, just pop them in and I'll see if I can answer anything. Hi there. Hi, Lemon. How are you? Thanks for being here. So I'm gonna just keep painting if you guys don't have questions. Yeah, I'm just poking along on this painting, so that's what I'm gonna just do. I'm just gonna go into the background now. But I appreciate your being here, I really do. I'm just painting along in my studio. That's what I do. I love being out here. So I've been doing these every Sunday, so I appreciate the fact that people have been showing up and coming to these live streams. It's really fun, and I plan on doing them every week, and I may add one during the middle of the week because I have a huge break between semesters, so I want to add another one on Wednesdays. So if people can be here, I would love to do that. That one may be in the morning, so I don't know. That one might be, well, it might be at noon, actually. But there'll always be a replay, obviously. I'll just replay it. I'm just figuring it out, you know. Just figuring stuff out as I go along. So I have the chat pulled up on my computer next to me. I couldn't figure out how to get it all going together. I mean, because I at one point was doing them on a webcam. And so the webcam can't pick up the pictures. So on the webcam, I was able to see everything and it was a whole different thing. But I couldn't get the colors to come out right. The colors were terrible. So I stopped using the webcam and then couldn't figure out how to get everything connected. And now I think I finally have it so I can look at the computer and stream on the other camera that does better color. I don't know. Well, hopefully I've got it now. But I taught on Zoom forever, so I mean, I love painting and chatting and love having people stop by, and I'd like to do more of this kind of thing, so. I don't know. I love teaching. And I did a big painting workshop yesterday. And it was really fun. But I like doing my channel too. I love having this YouTube channel. It's just been really fun. And I don't know. I love doing it because I just like to paint so much. All right, so now I'm going to paint into this background. And let's see. So that first go around with these flowers in the background, I did mess up some of, well, not mess up, but it didn't mess it up, but it activated some of the pencil. So some of the color didn't come out as vibrant as I wanted it to. And that's because whenever you move the pencil, and that happens like when you're drawing and painting, it looks muddy, right? So I'm gonna make it a little bit more magenta-y. So I added a little bit of magenta into the perling red that I use, which is, you know, a very cool color also. But I'm mixing it a little bit because I want it to be brighter. And I'm gonna go back in, I'm using the matte medium again to make it flow nice. And I'm gonna go back over these because now it's set and the pencil's not gonna move anymore, okay? So now I'm gonna go back in and brighten this all up. And then when I paint the background, you're not gonna see that darkness from the pencil anymore. This is all stuff that, you know, I don't think people really talk about these little challenges that come up, you know, when you're painting. You just have to do this kind of stuff because this is the stuff that happens. There's like little challenges, and every painting, I always tell people they have like they have ugly phases. Paintings have ugly phases, and there's no way to get around them. And a lot of people, when they first start painting, don't know that. I call it the ugly adolescent phase because everybody has that in their painting. And then a lot of people who are new to painting go, oh my God, I've ruined my painting. And they throw it away when it's in the ugly phase, and they don't realize that every painting has an ugly phase, right? And so they don't realize that that's just part of painting, and they don't understand that everybody's painting has an ugly phase. Even masters have an ugly face in their paintings. So they just think, oh, I've ruined it. And they throw it away. So they don't know that that happens to everyone. So I think we need to talk about these kind of things and get it out in the open so that people just know, oh, everyone's painting has an ugly phase. Even people that have been painting for years have ugly phases in their paintings. So we can then know that you're not failing at this. It's part of painting, you know. I kind of wish somebody told me when I first started painting that there was going to be an ugly phase every time I painted, because then I wouldn't have beaten myself up so badly. So, I don't know. It would have been nice. I wish somebody clued me in. All right, let's go. I'm just putting a little bit of pink into my flowers. Once the background and everything else goes in, you're really going to be able to see those white flowers. You won't see them until everything else comes into play. Okay, so now I have a totally different red that's going in that background. Okay, now this red. Now this red's a lot warmer. Okay, so I'm going to go in here with the warm red now. This is like my wallpaper. Okay, this. All right, now we're getting somewhere because now you could finally see. It takes so long to get someplace sometimes with these paintings. But you just have to keep plugging along and blocking stuff in. A lot of the times that's all it is just like sticking with the program, blocking things in. One step at a time, you know, is how you get there with these paintings. And I don't always have a finished plan because I am more of an intuitive painter, so I really do go a little bit at a time, a little, and then I just keep working, and I let things evolve as they go, and I just look at it as things are happening and things are going, and then I just keep making decisions based on the previous decision, you know, and see how things evolve, you know. I mean, I might have a loose plan, but I never try to, if a plan isn't working, I'm never going to stick to a plan that's not working. You know, if I have to change an idea, I'm going to change it. Like the blue that I chose before wasn't going to work, and so I just switched it out, you know. I think you have to be willing to adjust as you go along when you're painting. And it's interesting that I used two reds, and you can see here like how different a cool red is from a warm red, because the warm red is reading orange at this point, and it really is red. It's cadmium red. And you can really see how orange it looks on this paper. I've actually added some of the cooler red to it to make it look more coral, like more of a coral color, because I feel like it looks a little bit too orangey. And depending on like what color other colors are next to it, it affects what they look like too. Because now my blue is actually looking really teal next to this orange. It's just reading that way. And I'm doing a thin layer because I may want to go back in at some point and, you know, I may change that second layer a little bit. I may intensify it, or I may make a glaze. So a glaze in acrylic painting, if I feel like this background is a little too orangey, I can make a very thin, almost like a wash, right, of acrylic with a more intense cool red. So I can take a more intense cool red now and go over the background color with mostly matte medium, right? So I would take the matte medium and just a little bit of cool red, or a cooler red, or a magenta even, and make a glaze, right? And so by adding a thin layer of that over the top, I can influence the color and just put that thin layer over the top of this background. And then, so you create what's called a glaze in acrylic painting. And it can really, you know, without having to repaint a whole area, you just, you know, paint this thin layer of a glaze over the top, and it just kind of changes that one part of your painting, and makes it look more, you know, that one color changes just slightly. And it's a really interesting way. Matte medium, or medium in general, I mean, because you could do a gloss medium too, you don't have to use matte. But medium, gloss, and matte medium, you could do so much with. You could use it to attach collage. You can make glazes with it. You can use it to increase flow. It does a lot of things. It's very versatile. It's probably it is definitely my go-to medium, but it's also extremely versatile for painting in general with acrylic. All right, sometimes when I stop working on an area and then go back to it or look at it later, I see things that need to be fixed. So right now I'm looking here and I see my kitty. I see my kitty neck, and I think to myself, this is, let me see this. All right, let's see. All right, there. That just had to happen. When I'm all done with everything, I will put whiskers. I'll paint those eyes. Actually, the eyes, maybe I'll use some of this green for, because some of this green is really a nice green. I wonder if I can, okay. Let's get some of this green in here. I like green cat eyes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I like the kitty better with the green eyes. Yay. Hi, chill guy. I see you. Thanks for stopping by. Hi, chill guy. Hi. Sorry about that typing job I just did. I'm painting and trying to chat at the same time. All right, I'm back to painting now. All right. If I see you pop in, I'm gonna say hi. Oh, let's see. Well, I'm a lot happier with the color I just mixed. I'm gonna spread some of that around. I added just a little bit more of the magenta back here, and I really like that color better. I don't know if I'll have to do the glaze, actually. But I wanted to talk about it because, you know what, there's just a lot of things that I've learned painting. Oh, because I've been painting forever. Forever and a day. And I don't know, I just don't ever get tired of it. And okay, let's get in here. Oh yeah, that's much better. I don't think I'll get to the oil painting part of this today. So this is the thing I've learned, and that, or I'm learning about. Now, people told me a while ago, like artist friends of mine, have told me that they start these paintings with acrylic and then go in and use either regular oil paint, which I don't use anymore because of my asthma, and the mediums that you have to use, and they're really toxic. It's the other reason I stopped using them. I don't really use any kind of toxic art materials anymore. It's just not even worth it. But I do love oil paint, and I love the way it looks, and my galleries that I show at and stuff, they really do prefer oil paintings. All right, so then, you know, they do. You know, people just think oils are better. I love acrylic paint. I mean, I just like it. I like the way it looks. If you finish these paintings the right way, they look the same to me. I don't know. But maybe that's just me. But people have a thing about oil painting, so fine, whatever. But I tried these water-soluble oils, and I like them. They don't smell bad. They look the same when they dry. And so apparently you can start your oils with acrylic. And it's just like anything else with oil. You can put oil over water-based media, but you cannot put the water-based media over oil. So as long as the water-based media is underneath, you're fine. Just like you can put oil pastel over, you know, over anything water-based. You can't, you're not really supposed to put stuff over it. It's fine. You know, it's just like you can't paint an acrylic over oil pastel. You can actually paint watercolor over it, but not acrylic. But you can put oil pastel over an acrylic painting. That's fine. That's all good. Same thing with oil paint. You can put it over the acrylic paint and it's supposedly fine. So that's what I've been trying, and I love the way it looks. So far, I'm trying to learn the right way to do it so that I don't mess it up. Okay. This is starting to look better. Okay. All right. I want my kitty to have a smaller little face. Okay, that's okay. Don't mind me while I fuss with my cat. Okay. Okay. It's funny how, like, when I'm not looking and then I look back, suddenly I'll see things that I need to fix or whatever, and things start to stick out to me. So that's what happens. I'm not really looking, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I see something I need to fix on here. And that's okay. And that's just how it works. That's why I like to work around the painting sometimes. I just like to, certain things pop out to me when I'm painting. And I start, you know, looking in other places, and it's okay. That's all good. That's all how it's supposed to be. So I want to say that this is like painterly, which means not perfect, right? All right, now sometimes I'll interject a little bit of variation in my colors, and that's what I'm doing here. Just a little bit. I'm adding a little bit of a color variation here with my blue, and nice. It's really fun. When you vary things in your painting, it gives it more texture, it gives it more life. more variation. Okay. Now, come back in here. All right. I have to be a little careful about coming into some of these tighter areas too, you know, because I don't want to interfere with some of this other stuff that's already done. Okay. Okay. Trying to think here. This one, I believe, I'm just trying to think about what I'm gonna do as far as I know it's gonna have a carpet. And I'm trying to think. I don't want to use that. I'm gonna grab I think, I'm trying to see what I have on my table that's gonna work, that's not gonna make a big mess on my paper. So I think what I want to do is, oh, this is pretty dry, so I can probably safely do this. I'm going to, no, I want to perhaps bring this up here, because I like a little pattern and things, and pattern is really important to me in my work, and that's why I have like the wallpaper. I really love including foliage, and so this is just a regular, this isn't even a watercolor pencil, this is just a regular color pencil that I have here. I want to have, and it actually, this is a teal colored pencil, so I want to have something like just a pattern, and I can safely do this without worrying about what I've already put down here. Okay, the other thing I wanted to do, so I'm gonna make this kind of a border down here that I'm gonna come back into and paint. But I also want this to just kind of be just kind of an interesting pattern. So it's gonna look like this is, you know, just part of the carpet here. You know, I want this to be, all right, and then under here, I want this to look like this is where it ends, underneath. Because we're getting on 2 hours now, so I probably will end the live stream here, and then, let's see, kind of, well, you know what I want to do? I want to maybe I'll finish the flowers, and then we'll end, okay? It's because I'm almost there and I have like these really kind of nice little colors that I wanted to add. And I'm thinking I'm gonna go into these centers with some yellow of these flowers. And then, because I have these colors mixed up already, and I wanted to get in here with some of this color. So I do want to add some greens that of the greens I already mixed, right? So I have some pinks in here, but I do want to put some of these really pretty greens into the centers of these flowers, because it kind of adds a little bit. Here, I'm gonna put a little bit more in. Okay, but I've gotten a really good start on this guy. So this is gonna be a patterned rug, just a very basically patterned rug. And I really love this blue for the vase. So I may just leave it really basic. I may just do a couple of little things to indicate pattern, but I think I may just do another coat of the manganese blue, which came out really pretty, with white for this vase, because it came out so nice. I really liked how that color came out. And I might just do that. But I am going to end this live stream now because it's been 2 hours, and I usually spend just about 2 hours on my live streams. And I really do appreciate everyone that came today. And I will post this on my community page when I've gone farther with it. And I really do appreciate everyone who came out and joined me today. And I will see you on my next live stream. Thanks so much for being here. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much.